coughing. That's that. Don't get nervous. So here, let's go. Okay. So I don't know if you can see me on the video as well, but this is me looking nice. I did come prepared today. I washed my hair. I don't know how long I haven't, but you know,
it's not working, unfortunately.
And that's good because that's the only thing I did. I'm still in my home t-shirt. But you can look at me like this and think that's how I look. And it's a little bit of like Christmassy mood that probably will put you in a holiday spirit right now. I don't know. I was presenting this before with our community of practice at my work, and I already like said those jokes, and you know, when you repeat them, they kind of sound weird. And I know like some of people from my team are on the call as well, so they're like, we heard that. But
we're all laughing with you.
Thank you. So I work as a business intelligence developer for Alina Global Solutions, and Alina Global Solutions is a recruiting company, staffing company. I have the link at the end of my presentation if you want to check that out. But when I try to tell people where I work, I usually go with the names like IR Tech and Tech Systems, and everyone's like, oh yeah, we know, do you work there? And I'm like, no. There's another little company that belongs kind of under the same umbrella, and that's called Alina Global Solutions. Still does staffing and recruiting, but I work as a developer for BI team. I don't do a lot of, like, I'm not involved in recruiting, so don't reach out to me about that, please. But you can check the website and recruiters on LinkedIn, and I'm sure they will be excited. I also have a PhD in petroleum management, and yeah, that's that. And my original degree is actually engineering, so you would probably ask why I'm a developer right now. And I don't know, things happen like that, and I cannot be more excited. I feel like coding development is something that I didn't realize I needed in my life until I actually got exposed to that, and I really like it. I feel it's having an engineering degree is something that you have, you know, understanding of like algorithms or of the basic structure, architecture, kind of like that, and then you're just using different things. Like instead of I don't know, engineering with construction materials or something like that, you just use data, and that is pretty awesome. So I also have a QR code of my LinkedIn profile that I thought I'm going to be presenting right in the big room where people can scan it, but I have a link at the end of the presentation again if you want to connect. I'm always happy to connect, so please add me if you want. I try to post something. I'm not there yet, like I'm very bad blogger, if that's what you call it, but I still try to share some cool tips that I come up with or that I come across, so here. Okay, so let's get to agenda. I know it maybe looked a little bit different in the invite, but it's been almost 3 months, I feel like, that we've been planning this. So I changed it a little bit. If you kind of feel like you were here for something that wasn't the agenda and I didn't mention that, I have that in the article, so you can always go back, and if you have any questions, reach out to me. So I hope you're still gonna like what you're gonna see. So as for tricks, we're gonna talk about how to disable visual headers for all visuals. We're gonna cover useful shortcut in DAX, and that might be not very new to some of you, but I recently discovered that, and when I saw that, I'm like, oh my God, how could I not know about that? So if there are people like me, there are shortcuts in DAX. So we're gonna talk about that. I also wanted to talk about transparent color, and that does not give a lot of explanation, but we're gonna get to that. And left-right data alignment for headers. Again, that's probably like, for you, it's like, well, what does that do? But we're gonna get to this as well. And another thing that I'm very excited about is the new visual. Yeah, that's just very exciting. So here, let's move to, oh, I probably should have warned you before. So instead of doing like live demo kind of thing, I mean, I can still do it if anyone has questions or we need to walk through something, but I kind of pre-recorded what I'll be doing. So you can always look at the screen and kind of follow the GIF and see what's happening there. But yeah, I hope that still works and you kind of think it's useful, and more like I'm getting distracted with trying to, you know, do this live and then think what I'm doing and try to talk at the same time. headers. So I don't know why, but by default, they're always on. And I'm trying to show this on the GIF. Like every time you hover over any element that you put on your report, anything, it can be visual, it can be text, it can be shape, anything, and buttons, they all have visual headers. And they're very annoying, especially like for the end users, or confusing for end users. They have no idea what they are for. They're like hovering over for a completely different thing. They're not even hovering over, they're like moving their mouse, and then there's this thing, and like, do they need to do anything? No. So I think they should be probably turned off by default, but that's not an option. And I usually remember about them like at the end of the development, right? The whole report is built, and I'm like, oh, visual headers. So I actually have an idea how you can turn them off for the whole report, and like in less than 2 minutes, instead of clicking on every single visual and turning that off. So, oh, small note here. Sometimes you do want the visual headers on, especially when you're trying to give the user opportunity to export the data, right? Like let's say it's a table, and the actual idea of the report is that they're going to be able to export it. But usually it's like 3 tables. They're not going to need to export everything from every visual. And I don't know if you like me, you probably have 50 or 60 visuals. Don't tell anyone, but that's how it is to make it look pretty. So, and only like 1 or 2 I actually use for exporting. So I feel like it's easier to turn it on for 2 instead of turning it for like 58 or something. Okay, so let's get to the solution. So actually, all you're gonna need is a little bit of JSON, and that's it. Like that's how complicated it is, or I should better say not complicated. This is how it looks like. That's everything you need. Just a little custom theme for Power BI that says disable visual headers for all of your visuals. And you know what's next? You just upload it to your report, and that's it. Like that's how easy it is. You go to this updated, I don't know if you have the updated ribbon, or is it like for everyone by now? Not in
I think it's GA.
Okay, but you just go browse for themes and upload it, and that's it. It's done. Like that's how easy it is. It's disabled for all of your visuals. Now you don't have to worry about that. Nothing's gonna happen. You're good. The only thing is that you already have a theme applied, right? So you already selected your colors, or you already selected your colors. Let's leave it with that. I don't know, any other custom formatting options that you use in your theme. Then you don't want to do this because this is going to override the theme you already have. But we're going to talk about solution for that as well. So if you have a custom theme that you deploy, that you created inside of Power BI, you can do what? You can go to the same ribbon and choose export current theme, and that gives you the JSON. That's it. Like you have the JSON with the theme you created in Power BI. If you created your theme by yourself in JSON, that I think you're pretty comfortable with JSON as well. So you can do it too as a second option, just open that file. But what you really have to do here, so you exported it, right? And then you go and combine those 2 themes together. And that's it. Again, nothing complicated. I just copied the colors and put them in the theme that I had. And boom, you're done. Again, you can export it, like you can save it, export it in Power BI, and all your visual headers are off. So that's the first one. Okay, useful shortcuts in DAX. So again, I'm gonna repeat myself. That was for me so exciting because I was struggling with something that had like the column name used 10 times in the same measure, and I needed to change it. And I was like, there is no way you can just use something to update it all over, because I don't know if you're like me, I have SQL background, so usually Control F works there. Well, but that doesn't work in DAX. So I was pretty upset, and I thought, okay, that's it. Like I have to do it manually 10 times. But actually, no, there is a Control D that once you put your cursor in the column or whatever you're trying to highlight, and then press Control D again and again and again, it's going to go until it finds all of those, columns in your DAX. So for me, it was like, wow. And then also once they're all selected, you can type if you need to update it to something else. And again, that was for me, it was like, oh, is this really? But again, this is not anything new. It's not like I discovered that. I just found it online, and I think there is a guy in a Q video and all of that information. So if you already know about that, that's pretty cool. But if you didn't, hey, this is actually working. Another thing that, again, I thought was pretty cool, and again, talking about SQL, there is an option that you can type on several lines in the same text if you need to do like the same, I don't know, the same query, repeat something. So I did not know you can do it in DAX, but you actually can. And then that's Control Alt up or down. That's pretty cool. I recently used it. I was very happy with myself. That thing I knew about too before. I don't know how, maybe because I knew every time I press enter, everything just freezes and I have to like redo this whole measure because I saved it and it was not finished. But Shift Enter actually gives you the line break. That one, I don't know how often you would use it, but I still think it's very interesting, the comment uncomment, Alt Shift A. But I guess the last one is going to be the most exciting because, you know, we just talked, you probably don't even remember what they're going to be once you get to work on what you need to work on. This one, the only one you need to remember, Shift and the question mark actually opens you keyboard shortcuts in Power BI. And that's it. You didn't even need me to tell you all about all these shortcuts. Here you go. You can do whatever you want. You can explore. You don't have to go back to this presentation. You don't have to Google. They all are there. And yeah, you can see them all there. The second one. So now I wanted to talk about something that I'm very proud of. That was my first article about this. And I'm very happy with the place where I work and people that I work with. They always challenge me to things that, you know, to think out of the box, and they're not usually that obvious when you work in Power BI, but because you have to be creative and you have to kind of come up with some interesting solutions. That's kind of how this was born. So transparent color, that's actually something I don't know how it came to me. I thought that would be cool if there is an opportunity, but you know how in Power BI you can choose field value to be the color of anything you want. And if you set your field, if you create a measure that equals transparent, and I put the hex over there, you can apply this color as a field value to any color that has those 3 dots at the top when you try to do conditional formatting. That's how it's called, I think. And yeah, your visual can disappear. If you can see over there, this is the card, and I usually like use it on the card because for the cards you can make disappear. Sorry, I feel like I'm running out of breath right now. But you can make the background disappear and you can make the font disappear, so it looks like your whole visual just disappeared. And I'm just going to show you a little bit on a better example. That's what we use it for. So sometimes, let's say we want to show different cards conditionally, and depending of if the condition happens, we want to show, you know, here, as you can see, reason A, we want to show 2 measures, and reason B, we want to show only 1. So that's how it works. It's not a bookmark. It happens every time the data changes, so you don't have to control this. And I thought that was pretty cool. That was like one of my favorites. Let me know if you have any questions after the presentation, and we can go through this if that was still like a lot to take in. Left-right data alignment. So if you ever face that problem in Power BI that you have a very long text that's going to appear, or maybe it's even a date, and you're trying to align it somewhere, you usually would use like a card, right, or something to show that date or show that text. But if you're not sure how big the text is going to be, you can't actually align it perfectly. And then you have all this like trying to make it, you know, because in the card, it's always central aligned. So you kind of like, what can I do? You don't know, like you're trying to align this. You are not sure how long this text is going to be. So you can actually, instead of using the data label in the card, use the title. Title is conditionally formatted, and it's it usually you can, yeah. Question for the kids.
Sorry, guys. I'm scrolling through trying to mute people as fast as I can. But I'm not very fast.
No, you're fine. So yeah, where was I? I was on the fact that you can use title of the card. And that's actually something that very useful for those kind of problems. You can align it on the left, you can align it on the right. You can hide the data label with either you choose the same color as the background, or you can use a transparent color if you want to be, fancy. But that's going to be hidden, and then the title kind of goes on the card, and that's what end users see. And then you can align it left align, right align. I saw people use multi-row card because that allows left alignment, but multi-row cards do not allow word wrap. So sometimes if you have very long text, you kind of have to try to place it. But the title allows multi-row, or sorry, not the multi-row, word wrap. So that can be the solution. So yeah, here's that. Okay, next one. New visual. So I was thinking the best way to describe it, and I couldn't come up with like any kind of, scientific way. I don't know the best way to say it, but I put it somehow like this, that in range bar, sometimes you have data points that are built starting from the minimum value per category. And as a result, the flag or the pointer will show where on the scale calculated value belongs. So I kind of wanted to stop here and try to give you a little bit more explanation behind it. And I'll show you at the end maybe how you can use it on the report. But here are some examples of the categories. Let's say you have 5 different statuses, and actually you don't have to have just 5. You can have as many as you want, 20, 30, or just 3. And you're trying to show where your data goes. Is it in a good status? Is it in great? Is it neutral? Maybe it's bad. Maybe it's worse. Who knows? You can also use ranges. And again, this is something that you can have, I don't know, the metric that's being calculated and normalized, and then it goes under a specific range. And then you can also have a tracking. Maybe you have different levels, and your product moves from level 1 to level 3 and level 4, and you want your end user to kind of visually see on what level or on what stage the product is. So that's the best I could explain that. I hope that makes sense. Also, if you're seeing the visual, do you have any ideas what the visual is? I'm going to give you a hint. This is the usual Power BI visuals. There is nothing custom. There is nothing uploaded from the marketplace. Do you guys, any one of you, have idea what's being used?
Is it a matrix or a table?
Thank you, Shannon. That was you.
Sorry.
Yes.
I'm really intrigued. I think this is really cool.
No. You're exactly right. This is a matrix, and let's get to how you actually build it. So to actually do this, you're going to first need the support table, and your support table is going to hold color values that were used, that you just saw, and category definitions. I mean, category definitions are mostly for you just so you know what color means what. And I usually put index value just so it's easier to, create connections instead of trying to remember the name of the status, or trying typing whatever, great or good. I can just do 1 or 2, and it's just easier for me. Second, you're going to need 2 measures, and they're going to look very simple, but I'm sure once you apply them towards your logic, they're going to be more custom and more complicated. But you need a measure, and I call them make status. So something that gets the data out of you and not out of you, sorry, out of the report, and assigns it a status, right? Or puts it in the range or whatever. So let's say I use just static value. I said that variable A equals 1. But of course, variable A is going to equal your measure or whatever you're trying to assess towards some kind of status. So in my logic, if A equals 1, it's going to be great. But if A equals 5, it's not going to be that great. A second measure you're going to need is make a pointer. So that's going to be something that actually points on the matrix where the pointer goes, if that sounds okay. I don't want to watch this in the recording. Every time I seem like I hear myself speak. This is very sad. But that kind of connects your status or your data with that support table. So you can see measures are pretty simple. Again, nothing complicated. Looks fine, I hope. So now what you're gonna need, you're gonna create a visual. So again, as you can see on the preview, you just put those, you put index in the columns and you put in values, you put the make pointer and you put the index there as well. I also put status there because I feel like it's good to have some kind of legend sometimes if you're looking at that, like, but usually it's pretty easy to understand that green is probably good, red is not that good. But again, like if you want, you can have them there. Make sure you turn on show in rows in formatting pane under values, and then they're gonna look normal and not like, you know, very, very long table with a lot of columns. And then all you need to do, well, not all, but almost everything you need to do is just format that. And you select the background color for the index values, and that's going to be those colors that you actually put in your support table. So as you can see, I did that. And cool, now they match statuses, right? Good became green, worse became red. Looks good. You can also change that. You can also apply that same formatting for the font, so it's going to hide the numbers there, or you can use transparent color, whatever you want. But if they're going to be the same color as the background, no one's going to be able to see them anyway. Oh, see, I even put it there. Then all you need to do is also like format the table, hide the column headers, hide the values, change the outline color. For the alternate row, like, you know how you can do on each row, not each, but alternate row is going to be different color. I don't change the font color just because I feel like it's also a cool place where you can change the name and kind of give it a little bit of explanation what you're showing. Like you're going to call it index bar or range bar or whatever you want. Also turn off column and subtitles, but again, like that's pretty easy, nothing complicated. You're going to end up with something that looks like this. And all you have left is create a pointer. And again, pointer is some conditional formatting. I just used out-of-box Power BI icons. You can actually have your own custom. I tried that as well. You can upload them and use them. But yeah, that's it. You created it. It points to wherever your data goes. And yeah, that's it. Looking like that. Oh. Here I'm talking about how we create a legend. Again, you don't need to have this step. You don't have to have that column, but that kind of gives a little bit of explanation. You can put numbers there, whatever you want. And here are your range bars. I think they look good. I don't know. I think this is something like you can surprise people with. They probably don't expect Power BI to have something like this. And as you can see, like for the tracking data, I think that one has like 21 color in there. I don't know, exciting. I put online sources, as I mentioned before, my company website where I work, not my company, my LinkedIn page, and my 3 articles if you want to check them out. But yeah, let me know. That's all about presentation. Questions?
Alina, that was amazing. I'm like sitting here with my jaw dropped. There was lots of chatter in the chat. Does anybody have questions, use cases, anything they wanted to review?
Just step-by-step instructions, are they going to be made available? This is Jimmy. How are you guys doing?
Yeah, I'm actually planning to publish this for the range bars as an article today, I think, or maybe tomorrow. And this is going to have the same information with gives maybe a little bit of more instructions and kind of in a slower pace than I was talking. Yeah. But I made it in 25 minutes.
That was awesome.
Thanks.
Does anybody else have other questions? Anything to add?
Yeah, hi. I'm new to Power BI, And I wonder with that code you were using, was that like Visual Basic or JavaScript or what?
If you are talking about the first one that I was talking,
No, not
I
the
can-
JSON, not the JSON, but the one where you.
this one?
Yeah, that one. Yeah.
Oh, that's just DAX. That's the language
All right. Yeah.
that's used in Power BI to create measures. Yeah.
Okay. All right. I wasn't sure.
Mhm.
Anybody else have anything to say, add?
Yeah, this is Malcolm. Can you hear me?
Yes.
So thank you, Alina. That was really, really cool. I'll be honest, the only thing I can remember right now is just the shift question mark. But I will be looking for the article on the range bars. I think that's really cool. And I think what really stands out to me is how a lot of this is just like regular out of the box stuff that you can do with Power BI and a little bit of creativity. So I just really appreciate you sharing that.
Thank you. Thank you.
And just so folks know, we are, of course, recording this. And then I also just did a little tweet thread of all of the top tips that Alina gave. So you can find that on Twitter. I'll put the link to the thread in the chat here. Anybody else? Don't be shy. Looks like we have some people that are still just joining, so welcome. Okay, Alina, that was amazing. Thank you so much. Your colleagues are all very lucky to work with you and have you present that to them.
Oh, thank you. Thank you, Shannon. Thank you for giving me opportunity to speak. I know we were planning this for a while now.
Yes, I'm so glad it happened. And I really hope that we can just all do this together again in the future.
Yeah.
So Malcolm had mentioned that what you have done is a really creative way to use some of the out of the box features. And I completely agree. I wanted to share just one thing as a follow-up, speaking of the things that you can do in Power BI. I'm going to share my screen now, if that is okay. But actually, before we move off of Alina, does anyone have other questions or anything they wanted to ask, add? Okay, I'm going to do that round of applause. That was really awesome. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, so I just wanted to show you guys one other quick thing that I came across. Let me know if you can see my screen. So a lot of you have probably seen, I don't know how many years ago it came out, but there is, the Financial Times put out what they call a visual vocabulary, and it's on GitHub, and you can get it printed as like an enormous poster. And the idea of it is to help you select which visuals you need for which purpose. So it's kind of like almost like a data viz 101 kind of thing. But so Jason Thomas, I believe his name is, he goes by SQL Jason. He recently published the Power BI version of the visual vocabulary. And so I'm just thinking about what Alina did and her like really creative uses of Power BI. Jason did some similar things in the visual vocabulary for Power BI. And when I downloaded this PBIX file and opened it up, I was like stunned. It's really amazing. So I would also recommend, I'll drop this link into the chat, but I would recommend that you guys check this out if you are interested in going just beyond some of the out of the box visualizations. Although I'm a firm believer that bar is best and a lot of the out of the box visualizations are really great. But this Financial Times is super cool. In order to load it and make everything work properly, you have to have R on your machine with the right packages loaded, and you also have to have a Mapbox login, but the PBIX file walks you through how to do all of that. So I just wanted to share this as well. I don't know when it came out. I just saw it the other day, but I wanted to share it because it's cool. So I'll drop this into the chat.
Shannon, I downloaded that, and it is really cool.
Isn't it awesome? How long has it been, the Power BI been out?
I don't know how long, but the guy, this Jason guy, said that it was done for Tableau, and he had been working on it for over a year. He took all of the information that the developers that did it in Tableau, and then he also worked with some other folks and spent, I guess, over a year in putting this thing together. But he did a really nice job, and I shared it with, I'm going to share it with my team as well.
It is so cool. I feel like it's really going to elevate a lot of my work because it's just so clean and nice looking.
Yeah, I think it made me smarter about finance and just, you know, what types of charts to use for different situations. And it's got definitions about what the chart to use for. It's got a lot, you know, he's got data along with this thing, so you guys can actually go in and you know, play around with the reports and see them at work and put your own data if you want to. But I got that from your share on LinkedIn, so thank you.
Oh, great. Good. We're all connected. All right, so it is 7:19. Anybody else have anything to share?
Just reminder that MBAS virtuals next week.
Thank you, Jamie.
So it's free. Anyone who wants to can attend.
Yes, awesome. So that is on what day?
The 6th, I believe.
Okay.
May 6th.
So that is for those of you who don't know, it is the Microsoft Business Applications Summit. It is my favorite conference of the year. This year it's virtual, but what they do is they're going to go through basically all of what's coming down the line for the business applications products. So it's Dynamics, Power, and then the Power Platform. And then what else is in there, Jamie? Do you remember?
What did you say already? You said Dynamics.
Dynamics, Power Automate, Power Apps, Power BI.
Yeah, I mean, it's the Power Platform, basically, at the end of the day, which encompasses everything now. I mean, it's swallowed Dynamics, basically. But yeah, so anything related, even remotely related to Power Platform will be included in that. I believe they posted some of the speakers as well, so you can see what's available. And it's free, so if you can register, and even if you can't do the whole thing, you could sign up for some of it. So
Thank you. Really good
looking
call.
for the link now. I'll try to post it in the chat.
Okay, awesome. Thanks. Anybody else? Has anyone downloaded Snap Camera yet?
What is that?
Jimmy, can you see my camera?
Oh, okay, yeah.
I mean, I did my hair today for you guys.
It looks great. I had a sort of related question. Can you hear me?
Yeah, hi, Virgie.
Yeah, okay. Hi, Ashina. So I've been tech support for my wife's Zoom teaching. But anyway, not the teaching, but the Zoom. Anyway, so I saw a thing on LinkedIn the other day of something called OBS, Open Broadcasting Software.
Yes.
And I'm not a gamer, streamer, whatever, but it solves some of the problems I was having with Zoom. And I'm still wrestling with the audio stuff. So if there's anybody out there who's like an OBS expert, I'd love to talk to them.
What are you doing with OBS for the Zoom
Well,
stuff?
so you can create a virtual camera in OBS, get all your stuff lined up in OBS, your background, your special effects, transitions, And then in Zoom, instead of just using your webcam, you connect to the virtual camera. So you do
Okay.
OBS and it streams it out to Zoom and gives you a lot more capability. But what I'm struggling with is the audio, trying to combine music and speaking at the same time. But anyway, if there's any experts out there, I'd love to hear from them. But it's also, it's cool stuff to learn too. And
A lot of
you can connect
YouTubers
teams
use
and stuff.
OBS, so you might check YouTube for tutorials.
Who's that?
I said you might check YouTube for tutorials on OBS.
Yeah,
It's
no, I've
pretty
been
popular.
going through them, and there's good ones out there. I've learned a lot, but they're sort of oriented towards gamers a lot.
Yeah.
Where it's all coming from.
What grade does your wife teach?
Well, she teaches early childhood music through Levine, and she also teaches online Pilates classes, mat classes.
Amazing.
Yeah, and she takes classes too. So we've been learning a lot about broadcasting.
Has anybody else been doing a lot of broadcasting during this time?
Yeah, I attended a couple of birthday parties on Zoom. Of course, our company uses Teams. I would love to be able to collaborate with other musicians.
I'm wrapping this up.
Do
and then
some
we're
kind
gonna
of music. So I'm going to look up the OBS stuff.
Yeah. Well, Zoom is really for audio and music. It's really not too good.
Yeah.
I don't want to say bad things about it, but but the OBS it's free. It's very, very cool, and it's all kinds of add-ins, and but it's a whole new thing to learn. Yeah.
Jimmy,
Yeah.
I did not know you
if I
were
can
a
get a
musician.
jam session together, I'll let you know.
Okay. Cool.
I will play the harmonica or maybe juggle something.
Sounds good. You're invited.
All right. Does anybody have anything else that they're working on or like something you're struggling with? I feel like people are going to start dropping off the line because we're just about at an hour. But if people want to stay on, you're welcome to, obviously. I'm going to go ahead and stop recording just so that our banter doesn't get caught on the recording. Alina, thank you so much. That presentation was amazing.
Sure. Thank you, guys. Thank you.
Yeah,
Thanks.
very
That was
cool.
great.
I'm going to
Thank
drop
you.
off too, guys. So have a great day or a great evening, and enjoy the rest of your week.
See ya,
Thanks,
Alina.
Jimmy. Good to see ya.
You too.
Thanks, Shannon.
All right,
Sure,
thanks,
guys.
everybody. I'm going to do some more ridiculous snap filters as people drop off the line. And if anybody wants to chat, feel free.
Mike, you just joined the meeting, really, just now?
Who just joined the meeting?
Mike Buchanan. That's my old manager at AGS. He just
Hey,
joined.
Mike. You've joined in the serious hour, as you can see.
Tomato King. A potato king.
Usually our meetings are 2 hours, but since it's virtual, I felt like it's better to be shorter, just so that we can keep people's attention, you know?
So, Shannon, I have a question. I don't know if anyone online still have faced it before.
Yeah.
So one issue we're trying to get around is, so we have a report with multiple pages, but when you use the default PDF export in Power BI, it gives you every single page, and there's only one page out of the, I guess, however many tabs we have.
Right.
There isn't a way to customize it, and I was looking at, I guess I saw their API calls you can create. I wonder if there's a simpler way to kind of just say, here's a URL you pass in, specify the page, and it will just export that one page.
Okay, I don't have the answer for you, but have you ever met a guy named Jay Summers?
Yes.
So he's Jamie's former colleague, and he's been doing a lot of like really unique use case niche stuff. And one of the things he posted about recently was about this exact topic.
Oh, okay, it's great. I'll look him up. I know who he is.
Has anybody else seen that, or does anybody else? I should stop talking because I don't know what I'm talking about. But does anybody else have any response?
Create a person with payment option.
So for those of you that have just joined, we actually are wrapping up, but thank you so much for joining. We're just kind of going over unique use cases or Q&A. I do also want to say for anybody still on the line, if you are less experienced in Power BI, we are the people to feel comfortable around. So no question is too basic. Please feel free to ask whatever. After hours question asking.
Hey, Shannon, I actually have a question.
Hey, Corey, go ahead.
Yeah, so one thing we were experimenting with in Power BI is using the subscription feature where you can email out links to different people when a data set refreshes or anything that happens in Power BI. But we noticed that when we have row level security enabled, we don't have the option to use subscriptions. We saw this idea was voted on the blog, but I was wondering if anyone has faced this issue or found good ways to send out emails to users when data sets are refreshed, maybe not using subscriptions. Also, nice job, Alina. That was awesome.
Thank you, Corey.
So I have an initial thought. I've not done this before, so I'm going to open up the floor. So thoughts, guys, for doing some sort of automated email push with row level security enabled.
Right. I mean, it would be nice if we can send certain parts of data that's RLS trimmed, or it could just simply be, we just want to send out an email when the data set's refreshed to all users. But the subscribe feature goes away once RLS is enabled.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
I did not know that. So
yeah, we found out today.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I don't know if Jamie is still on the line. He's probably my local Power Automate guru. I would say this might be something that Flow could handle for you. I mean, it's going to have to be outside of the service. You're going to have to get creative, I would assume.
Yeah, we figured as much. Just thought I'd ask.
Anybody else on the line? I'm definitely not the expert on this one.
Yeah, I appreciate it anyway, though. Thank you, Shannon.
Yeah, we could tweet it out and see if we get any responses. It's worth a shot. I'll try that.
Yeah, thank you. I'll have to look up Twitter, how to use it. I don't have it, but I'll check out the user group's Twitter.
Yeah, I actually only got Twitter specifically for Power BI. And I remember in one of the very first presentations in our user group, Tony presented, and his top tip of his whole presentation was use Twitter. Because seriously, all these new product releases and new features and new this and new that, people tweet about them the minute they get released.
Right.
And then you can block out all the noise, stuff you're not interested in seeing during the workday.
Yeah, I remember when Adam and Patrick from Guy in a Cube came to the user group in DC. They were talking about what's the hashtag for this user group, and I guess it's a big thing to use.
I actually remember that. So I was looking today through I have just a folder with all the presentations in them, and I was looking through the presentations and I saw that their presentation was in January, and I was like, it had to have been January 2019. There's no way that was just January of 2020. Doesn't it feel like it's been forever since then? Forever. But I'll put the user group URL in the chat. I'm looking at it right now.
Another question I have is, So at work, we're trying to, I guess, use whatever the AI capability in Power BI they exposed. I know there is the decomposition tree and what's the other one called? The key influencer.
Uh-huh.
So trying to use it to figure out, okay, what's the top contributor to a certain metric to try to monitor. Has anyone have successfully built out a report or use case that using, I guess, key influencer is probably the more relevant for what we're trying to do? There's very little documentation on how they arrived at the different things. I know someone like in one of their documentation mentioned it's linear regression. That was about it, right? And we're trying to figure out, okay, how did they arrive at this? This attributes is something that we should notice or monitor, etc. Because it's a hard time to kind of talk to the end users. Hey, you should look at this. They're like, okay, how did you arrive at this? They're like, we don't know. We trust Microsoft.
Okay, so I have never used either of those things personally. I do know one of the PMs on the AI team. Her name is Justina. I'm just putting her Twitter handle in the chat.
Okay.
But she is really brilliant and probably can answer the question for you. So I think if you reach out to her, or if you can't get in touch with her here, let me know and we can go through other channels. But I bet you she would have the answer.
Awesome. Thank you.
Has anybody else used either of those? The key influencers visual or the decomposition tree? Is that what it's called? Decomposition tree? Decomposition matrix?
The decomposition tree is easier to use and grasp. And it's just really, we use that actually in one of our report. And I think after we do that, we're trying to use the key influencer as an add-on to it. Because the decomposition tree gave you a really good visual of kind of breaking your data down into different components. There's no other visual in Power BI or in any BI tools that break it down so nicely. But then the next question people is going to ask again, out of the top 10, top 20, which one I should go focus? I was like, let's load into key influencer, see how it works. And that's where we got stuck.
I mean, it sounds really cool. Like it gives people so much more insight than they've ever had.
Yes, that's definitely.
How it works is a total black box to me. I have no clue. But I do think Justina would know.
Yep, definitely will reach out to her. Thank you.
Yeah. Anybody else got like unique use cases or, I don't know, good recipe? Okay, either my internet just went out or we're done talking. Is anybody there?
Yes, we hear you.
Okay. Wonderful. Okay, well, I guess that means we'll wrap this up. So I guess moving forward, we're going to continue to do virtual events for at the very least in May. And I would imagine probably in June as well, maybe even into the fall, maybe even into next spring. I have no idea. But I really liked this format. Alina, I loved how your presentation was super informative and very nicely timed. I loved it. It was great. So I think we'll try to do this format again for the next one. So rather than doing 2 hours, we'll do an hour, hour and a half, whatever. How do people feel about the time? Is 6:30 a good time, or since we're virtual and you don't have to commute anywhere, do you guys want to do earlier, later? What do you guys think?
6:36 works.
Yeah, I think it's pretty good. When it's in DC and we're commuting from Baltimore, it's kind of hard, but online is perfect.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. All right. Well, I will hang out just for a little bit if anybody wants to chat. And it's really good to see you guys. I feel like I really miss everybody. So for those of you who are joining for the first time, welcome. And thanks for joining. And everybody, thanks for spending your time with us when you could be doing other stuff. Alina, thank you so much. That was amazing.
Thank you, Shannon. Thanks again to everyone too. We'll see you in May.
All
Thank you.
right, sounds good.
Bye, guys.
Sheriff.